So here I'm actually going to do a simple frame by frame animation. So I'm going to start with an ActionScript 3 document. I'm going to pull in a reference piece. This is a book cover that I got ages back for another project, but obviously here at this point I can't see it, it's too big, so I'm going to have to go show all and then shrink this down so it actually fits on my stage. So using the free transform tool in the corner, I'm going to adjust the size of this thing. Holding, now it's adjusting everything, so I hold down shift to make it small enough or thereabouts, and it sort of fits. So now I'm going to go zoom to 100% or maybe even just 50. Now with the actual free transform tool, much like Photoshop, you can hold down shift to get a consistent aspect ratio, alt from a corner, that's good to know. If you want to actually have control of precisely where it will rotate from or transform to, you can move the radio button, as it's referred to reposition it to that. So if I wanted to free transform it based on that, as you can see here, there it is. So that gives you a little bit more control over transforming your animations, or even actually rotating, as you can see with that. Anyhow, I've got my my reference layer, which I'm now going to lock because I don't need that anymore in this animation. I'm going to have two layers going on here. One is and I'll zoom in so we can see it a bit. The first is my book layer, and the second is my page turn layer. So I'm just going to get one page and turn it. Now the annoying thing is this is going to take a bit of time, but anyhow, to draw it all out. So first off, I'm working on my book layer. Make sure you're in the right layer, and I'm just going to trace the outline of this book and create a couple of pages in essence, and then the spine of it. If I was using a graphics tablet or had more time, then this would be easier to do, but this is just really an example, and of course the respective artists can make the good copy. So I'm just going to create the equivalent of, that's ugly, so I'm just going to create the actual equivalent of the book shape, and it's really just giving the impression of a book. I'm going to try and leave that top layer open. I'll hide the background so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, I need to remove that line there, so black arrow, select that and delete, because I'll draw that in a little later. So turning this back on, I still need to keep drawing. So really what I'm doing at this stage is basically drawing out what I want the book to look like. And now I need to actually add in my page turn layer. I'm only going to animate probably 10 frames of this, but you'll see the idea behind it. Actually, first off, I'm going to delete that back layer because I'm going to animate the page turn coming up from here. This bit I'll need to draw in later. So now on this upper layer, I'm going to lock the bottom layer so I don't accidentally edit it. I'm going to draw in my page that I'm going to animate. And this is going to have to be a frame by frame animation in this case. And I know you can do it other ways, but I want to show frame by frame, and I want to do this in a consistent fashion. So re-enabling my background layer. So I'm just going to insert a frame there so I can see what I'm drawing with. Go back to here, and that's where I want it to sort of follow that. Actually, probably don't even need that, but it's there just in case I need it. Alright, so I need to move this. So in this case, just working on the page turn layer, if it's dotted like this, I can select it and move it all around. I don't want to do that, but clicking off, I can grab points and adjust their location. Now this highlighted circle here, as I move back and forth, is basically snapping. So what I'm going to do is undo that and just remove or delete that bit, and I'll redraw it in later. So here I'm just adjusting the shape of the book. If I don't like the line of it, then what I can do, and see how that's reasonably distorted, is basically just redraw the pieces that I'm not happy with. So I'm just doing a slight lift on this to redo it, and I'm just going to take that whole back area and just copy, paste, and then reposition it to where I need it. So up a little bit there. click off and probably shorten this length a little and increase that a little bit, and that looks a lot better. So all I'm really doing is just frame by frame redrawing the page. Move on another couple of frames, insert that keyframe again, black arrow tool to adjust the shape of this line. I'm going to redraw that back line because the line is just not working for me, because normally you've got this sort of consistent flow to it, so even if there's a curve in it, you can actually make it look reasonably good. So I can grab that, and it's still doing that. Oh well, I'll just have to work with it. Yeah, so the goal here is to basically just draw what we need to draw, and I'd love to be able to get this and just slide up. The first time I did this, it was actually reasonably easy, but this seems to have think that the entire page is just separate. Is the curve for this line is actually a whole bunch of separate pieces, copy paste, and that's obviously too big because it's the perspective, and then we draw in the connecting stuff between them. So here I've got a couple of frames going on. I'll just do another one just to sort of get that idea. You can see the process I'm going through. Adjust the foreground loop, and some of it's looking really distorted, but anyhow, I'll just erase the bit I don't want, which should be that bit. So you can see here, and then just copy paste, position it, and then just pull that back a little bit so that it looks like a proper page. Yeah, that looks a little better. And obviously, I'm no great artist, so I'm just doing the best I can with this one. Alright, so that's enough of that one. And what you'll see instantly as soon as I bring this background book layer through is that the pages I've created overlap with some stuff, and I kind of want to remove that effect and that sort of stuff going on. So what I'm going to have to do is just check every single frame and then add a little bit of a white blob. So I've got white here, blob there, and I'll just Control plus to zoom in, spacebar to reposition. All I need to do is turn off that, disable that. So this way I cannot adjust my page turn layer, but here, my book layer, I can, no, actually I want the page turn layer, I don't want the book layer. On this book layer, so page turn layer, I just want to add in a little bit of white to cover that. So again, zooming right in, you can see it here, and I'll just reduce the brush size. So all I'm really doing is just carving out that. Hopefully that'll not be too bad. That's not too bad. Next layer, of course, I've got this little bit in here. And I'll zoom out again. Now, over here, you notice how I didn't draw that background. So I can go back to here and just color that in. Now, I can try and do it frame by frame, advancing along here. This kind of works, but what I'm going to do is something a little lazier. Well, maybe it's lazy and maybe it's more work. Is draw that into there. That already exists, and then on these layers I'm just going to start erasing them or covering them over. So here again, deselect, so it's this frame, and for some reason I've put it all, no, I need this piece and that bit, cut, go back down to the lower frame and paste in place. That way it has the identical location and it's actually easier to work with. Lock that bottom layer. So I'm just working on the page turn layer. I'm going to use the brush tool, and all I'm really going to do is brush over that layer with a bit of white. And of course, once I remove this background image, it won't be too hard. It will not be noticeable. So all I'm really doing is Now, if I've got some problems around exactly where things are positioned, for example, I want to check my animation through time, I can see trace the outlines and I'll scan back and forth. You can see the page turning. So for this example, I'm just going to pull this back to frame 8, remove frames and insert that one there. Yep, so that my entire animation finishes at the same time. Hit play, and that's looking pretty good. Hide that background layer and zoom out. Turn off onion skin. Play it again. That's okay. So this is just a basic frame by frame animation technique, and hopefully you'll find this useful.